where you saw declines in sales and revenues. And even the magic of e-commerce was hit by the recession. Well, we often hear e-commerce mentioned as if it's some magic solution to everything. Well, they got badly hit in terms of the fall in their growth rate. It was even more than for the regular retailers. As looking to the future, looking at a number of other consulting reports and market research firms, it seems to us that the retail market will continue to kind of divide with those at the extremes. At the low end, the value discounters continuing to do very, very well and capture more market share, and the luxury retailers at the top, they'll be the ones who will probably rebound fairly well, although not as much as to the levels that were pre-Great Recession. We expect that the luxury will lose a substantial amount of trade from the trading up mass luxury traffic. Those that sell necessities they always do well. People just need them, as necessities indicates. We think that the home and hearth group of retailing really went so low that they're in for a resurgence, significant resurgence, because people just need to do home maintenance. If they're going to stay where they are, there's going to be more need for remodeling, and there's this whole cocooning effect that generates a demand for things like HD TVs and seating and other equipment. But the demand will still be constrained there. Another group to watch is the pets, toys, hobbies, which grew going into the recession by almost 26%. And goods and services for children, they always stay fairly stable as well. And while we were not hot on the teen market as something the downtown should focus on during the recession, we think in the uptick that teen spending will increase, but even there it will be cautious. And who will be looking for retail space? Well, if you just look at the retail chains, the figures they're publishing these days, they're planning to open far fewer stores. And the share of those stores that have been going to downtown and Main Street locations are going to be even less than before. And so it's going to be the small independent retailers that will be sought after more and more in both large, medium, and small towns. But, one of the things that the small retailer has to confront, be a new one or an existing one, is where he's going to get the capital to open up a new operation. And that is a major challenge. Now, another category I've recently become aware of and appreciative of is what I call the Valhalla retailers. And these are people who decide that they want to live in a certain part of the country. And they move there, and then they decide, well, to support themselves, I'm going to open up a store. And so the market conditions for these retailers are less of a concern than the quality of life of the areas that they live in. And there, maybe in the question period, if I can get into 2 or 3 examples. One is in Vermont, and another one is in Arizona. But some of you folks in Wisconsin have, tourist, high quality of life areas, you might be interested in these Valhalla retailers. Looking at now, how are consumer attitudes changing and their behaviors changing to reflect the economic context that they're living in? One thing is that research is showing more and more that their consumers are becoming more cautious and frugal. And I think most important is that need is becoming more important than want. And I think that's one of the key defining characteristics of the new deliberate consumer. And also consumers are looking for products that are simple, easy to use, and affordably priced. And here I give you some research done by McKinsey that shows different products and how many consumers want those products to be simple, easy, etc. And the flip camcorder and the netbooks, their popularity and success, I think also demonstrate this. They have few bells and whistles, but those few bells and whistles really work well, and they work easily, and the whole package is very affordably priced. I mean, to get a camcorder that you can send your movies up to YouTube, etc., for $200 or so, and not have to, and you can put in your pocket versus a big bulky camcorder that you have to carry around, and it was heavy and cost maybe $6,000-8,000. That's a world of difference. Also, research is showing that more consumers, because of their concern about cost, are trying lower-cost products. Sounds reasonable. And what they're finding is that they really like the lower-cost products, that the quality is surprisingly acceptable. And so they're switching over. Now, this, I'm not saying, and McKinsey isn't saying that everybody is doing this, but you know that a significant enough percentage of the consumer market is doing this, that at the margin, 10, 15, 20% in the market can mean for a consumer products company like P&G and L'Oreal, or for a retail, it can make all the difference. And so they're responding. And, for P&G and L'Oreal are just two of the major companies that have come out with less expensive product lines, and high-end department stores are offering more affordable merchandise as well. Now, also, I think that while they're looking at, they're very price conscious, and that consumers still would like to have style and design, attractive style and design. And as we look at the market, we think that the cheap chic chains, chains like IKEA, CB2, Target, that on a comparative basis, they've held up fairly well. And as the economy rebounds and the price conscious, the concern about price eases a bit, and does not disappear, but eases a bit, then it will allow other variables to come into the consumer's purchasing decision equation, and we think that style, design, and uniqueness will be among them. Now, some researchers are claiming that Americans are losing their interest in conspicuous consumption. Poor Thorsten Veblen is probably eating his heart out, and stop keeping up with the Joneses, and that they're going towards away from materialism towards a more concern about quality of life. And as a result of this, that in their consumer purchases, factors such as environmental concerns, labor practices, food safety, health and well-being, human rights issues, ethical treatment of animals, and other societal issues will play an increasing factor. Well, will these factors be important in consumers' decisions? How important will they be? I seriously doubt that they're going to be the dominant factor when making their purchasing decisions. I certainly think that they will be a present factor. Will they impact 5 to 10% of the purchase, maybe 15%? I don't know. But there's a kind of what you might call a social premium involved, an extra cost often. Can that be afforded? That is also an issue. I think it's too early to see how impactful this new social factors and consumer decision making is going to be, I think it certainly is significant enough as to be watched, but I wouldn't bet the store on this one. So here's the summary of the key characteristics of the deliberate consumer: increased frugality and price consciousness. Needs are more important than wants. Prefers simpler, easier to use, well-performing products that are affordable. Appreciation for design and style, and social concerns. Though it may be that those who are wealthier are the ones who are able to respond more to the social concerns. Income will influence who will be the deliberate consumer because of the price sensitivity, the cost sensitivity. Now, the low-income shoppers, there's relatively little change that occurred over time. They have always been rather the constrained consumers because they don't have that much. Although, as you can see in the second bullet, they tend to spend on a household basis about twice the amount that they have in formal household income, and it's not insignificant. But during the recession, they maintained, the retailers who were dealing with this market segment reported relatively little changes in sales or vacancy rates. And also, for low-income shoppers, low price has always been an important characteristic of the retailers that service them. Whether they were value retailers was another matter. And also, it's interesting that value discounters like Walmart are now entering a lot of the urban low-income markets and doing quite well. Luxury shoppers, here are the folks who are likely to be the least price sensitive. And although we have to differentiate between the very truly wealthy and those who are the aspirational shoppers, who are the backbone of the mass luxury market, the shoppers who are trading up. But even among the wealthy, it's reported that they are not leveraging their investments as much, and they're being much more cautious. And some observers are saying this is reflecting their spending, as shown by reported increase in buying classic, more durable, and less ostentatious merchandise. The aspirational consumer, the trading up, is shifted significantly towards the more affordable merchandise. And while a lot of experts expect the luxury market to rebound by 2012, how much it's going to be and to what extent it's going to be, it remains to be determined. But it's here that the rebound is likely, to be the most, and it makes sense. They got the most money. And this chart shows the household income and spending by quintile. And one of the things it points out is just how much the upper quintile dominates many spending categories. And so if you are in a rich suburb with a lot of wealthy people, you're not going to feel as much the deliberate consumer, although you probably will to some extent. And if you're in other areas, it may pay to look at the affluent in your area as a kind of niche, and how do you cultivate and go after this market segment. But most folks in most downtowns, their consumers are mainly going to be the deliberate consumers in the broad middle class that compose the middle three quintiles in the income scale. And it's in this group that the confluence of pressures of underwater mortgages, reduced credit, unemployment, growing sneaky necessities, stagnant earnings, all constrain spending. I'm going to skip this one. Well, how can retailers respond?